Going on, folks? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're here with another live stream. Today we're going to be doing some sound design on the Elektron Digitone II, or Digitone II, whatever you prefer. The Digitone happens to be my favorite synthesizer that I own. I spend the most time on this synth. I feel very comfortable on it, and it pretty much offers everything you need in terms of polyphonic expression, as well as huge growling, distorted type sounds. And some people would argue that the Digitone 1 versus the Digitone 2, that the Digitone 1 actually had a more shrill FM sound than the Digitone 2. And I actually tend to agree with that, but I think the sound design potential on the Digitone 2 is just vastly superior, being that it has more voices, but it also has more engines. And we're going to utilize the engines and just make a bunch of patches, and maybe we'll make some music along the way as well, but we're definitely going to be sitting here making patches, saving patches, and that's kind of what I want to go through today. So I just want to share a bit of how I explore on the Digitone 2 and see if any of it is new to you, and just kind of talk about what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And we're going to start off by making a bunch of like growly reese basses. We're going to be in that territory, and I'm going to show you some tricks that you can use to kind of emulate some of the stuff you would do maybe in Ableton or other DAWs to make those sounds, because the limitations of hardware are real. And while it can be a really good thing to have those limitations, it's also nice to know how to bypass them and get to those sounds that you consider iconic or essential in your repertoire of tools that you have for making tunes. So I want to go over that with you today. This will be a beginner-friendly tutorial. I'm gonna I'll talk through every little detail. So if you're new to the Digitone 2, this will be a good way for you to get familiar with the device. And if you don't have a Digitone 2 and this inspires you to get one, use the affiliate link for sure. It's really helpful for the channel. Otherwise, I'm gonna give you a little demonstration of some sounds that I've been making recently in the last couple days that inspired me to do this particular stream. I've been sharing this on my Patreon, and they seem to really enjoy what I shared with them. So I figure I'd just share with everybody now at this point. So let's check it out. Cool. Digitone 2, we got Digitakt 2 also plugged in. And it's all running into my Octatrack, which I use as a performance mixer. If you're not familiar with this channel, that's kind of what I do with the Octatrack. And I love doing that. Hang on a sec, why am I not hearing that? This is the second time you've heard reese bass. What is a reese bass? It's just a particular type of sound. It's a particular type of bass sound. You're gonna recognize it right away once you start hearing it. Well, I mean, this is. Let's get to. Thus we get more portamento on there. That's a reese bass. There's so many different kinds for you to explore, but this is the kind that we're checking out right now, just as a demonstration to answer your question. Here's what I'm looking for. All right, there we go. I'm always like, right before I get these streams going, I'm like, I need to get my voice into my headphones, otherwise it's like this muffled version of myself. Now it's crystal clear. Fantastic. Okay, so I've made a bunch of reese basses already, and the reason why we're making reese basses is just because it's a great example of a useful, crunchy, gross, nasty sound. It's not exactly because that's the most important thing to make. It's just a good example of learning some of the tools in the Digitone and where can you find these nasty spots. Like, what are the go-to to just get into what would be considered, kind of like wavetable territory or serum territory. Like, how do we get there quickly? And that's what I want to do. So when I jump on the Digitone, I'm always starting with, one of these preset patches, and the preset is just a sine wave. It's just the fundamental and like an electric piano patch. Nothing too exciting about it. But you have to get somewhere. Like, you have to take that patch somewhere immediately. So I'm gonna go to a blank pattern just so that we have all of our tracks. Well, apparently I've done something on that one. Let's find another blank pattern. What about here? We'll clear you out, buddy. Oh wait, that's under my... I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess with that right now. Okay. Okay. Cool. So everything is zeroed out on this. We got a bunch of tracks. We're just going to use the tracks as presets. When we're done, I'm going to dump these presets onto my Patreon. So if you're on there, you can go ahead and grab them. So whatever we make today, plus what I had made previously, which is like 5 respaces already saved. So hopefully we'll be adding like, I don't know, 15 or something patches to the Patreon today for everyone to download for their Digitone 2. Let me give you some examples of some of the patches that I made and that we're going to kind of remake, and we're going to use a bunch of different engines to do this. So we're going to get familiar with all of the engines for the most part and what they're really useful for, and we'll make some cool patches and just make some really nasty, dirty stuff today. Like we're focus is going to be on distortion, filter post, or overdrive post filter kind of stuff, bit reduction, sample rate reduction, lots of audio rate modulation, using LFOs as audio rate modulation, possibly track layering, macros. Like we're going to go deep for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And, but let's listen to some sounds really quick. So I'm going to go into, actually we'll go to load just so we can, hear them really quickly. Scroll down. Should be right at the end of, yeah. There's a bunch of my patches. I make patches all the time. So here's one of the patches. We're gonna make something like this. This is using hard sync. We have the keyboard. We'll make a patch like this. And these patches, like I said, these patches will be available on the Patreon as well. Listen to this one. Absolutely monstrous. Digitone II. Favorite synth I own. Maybe we'll make this patch as well. That's using the sample and hold LFO. Okay, so you got an idea of like kind of what the territory that we're going into. Let's do it. Okay. So we're going to start off on track 1. We'll try and fill them all if we can. Unlikely. I get super distracted, but we'll definitely do quite a few, and this should be a fun exploration. We'll start off with the FM tone engine, because this is the best and most powerful engine, in my opinion, on the Digitone II. This is the engine that you should get the most familiar with. And here's what let me go through the process of what I do when I'm starting a new patch on the Digitone II. Every single time I skip page 1, I go straight to page 2 and start bringing up in my A and B modulation levels, because without these, we're not really going to be able to get much feedback. We're not going to be able to get any of the harmonics or the detune or the harmonics and the feedback here. They're very, very powerful modulators for the FM engine. And if you don't have this turned up at all, you're just not going to hear them. So if you start on this page to start making your patch, you're not really doing very much. In fact, you're kind of just playing with like ghost patch. It's just nothing's really changing. So until you go to page 2 and adjust your modulation level, this page doesn't do very much. So I just go here and turn this up until it starts sounding a little bit, a little bit more shrill than a sine wave, and go back to this page, and now I can play with this page and get into the nasty zone. I can play with our carrier, which is going to have the most fundamental change to the pitch, the actual tone of our synth. But now everything is going to have a lot of changes on the Digitone. And as soon as you hear something, this is just a golden tip. As soon as you hear something that sounds cool as you're just playing, like if we liked this, that might be something we want to modulate. Maybe we just want to have, you know, a ramp that just goes up and goes. You know what I mean? That's when you start grabbing your modulators as soon as you hear something you like. You know, use your hand first, then use an LFO afterwards. This is the Y side, has our low end, as you can hear. But now that we've added, you know, some level, the detune adds quite a bit of beating. Instantly, we're already in like the nastiest growl territory because the Digitone is just dope. And it can make these sounds very quickly. But like I said, if you don't go here first, you don't get much done. For this particular kind of sound that we're going to be making, these envelopes, I mean, while they can be pretty useful, because that does sound actually pretty good. I was about to say they're not as useful for us, but that did sound pretty good. Kind of nice having that bass like that at first. But we're going to kind of just ignore the envelopes here. This controls the actual modulation that we have for our operators and our harmonics and our feedback and all of that stuff. This does it over time, like any other envelope. So always think about envelopes as over time. The attack, decay, sustain, release is a time-based modulation which you can control. And we're going to ignore this page too, honestly. We're not going to be doing much here. It's awesome that we have all this available to us, but we're not going to be doing much in this FM tone. Here's what we want. This is where we're going to can get really nasty. Going down to this page, which in addition, Digitone 1 started adding, not this, this is a key tracking algorithm offset. This stuff's crazy right here. We are going to play with key tracking today, but we're going to use it to control an LFO so that we can create some rhythmic stuff based on what note we hit on our keyboard. And I'll share how that works. And because it's a cool idea. But here we can just like offset things by the smallest amounts, and it will create much more harmonics. We're already in a very harmonic zone as it is. Cool. So now I'm going to go over to my amplifier. And we're just going to give this a short attack. I don't really need any release, because we're just going to be like... We just want to be able to like slam this note on and off, so that's why we're going to use this. We could also switch this over to the AHD and then just kill the release, or give it, you know, the tiniest amount of release. It's still a little bit of attack. Also, a very useful envelope for this particular patch that we're doing, where we're just making a huge, beefy sound. That's awesome. I mean, I can hear that. Like there's a rhythm in there already. And damn, I love it. That's cool. So we're already kind of in a sweet spot. I honestly use the FM tone engine the most of all the engines. Despite that, we are going to use the FM drum engine to make similar patches, the wave tone engine, and we're going to use a swarmer. We're going to use all 4 of these engines, and we're going to make similar sounding patches from every single engine. But of course, they're going to be a little bit different, but they're all going to be in the same zone of just nastiness. Though we might make something a little softer when we use a low pass filter, but. Okay, next thing we want to do, these are going to be bass patches. That's what we want to do right now. That's what I want to do right now. So I'm going to make these act in that way. I don't want them to be polyphonic, so I'm going into my track setup and I'm turning off the polyphonic part of this patch. So now it's a mono patch. We're going to be going back into this setup zone pretty often, because in here we're not only going to be just off every single one of these patches, we're going to end up changing it from polyphonic to mono, but we're also going to be going in and perhaps playing with track layering, at some point. Playing with some macros, we do need to do some macro stuff, and playing with the key tracking, which is a macro, so we'll play with the key tracking macro. But there's lots of great stuff that you can do in here. You can also track swap, which is my favorite feature ever. Too much cool stuff. So right now we're in a really sweet spot. Let's go over here. So one of the great things you can do on the Digitone is it has 16 voices. You don't have to use all your tracks. There's nobody who says you got to use all your tracks. You don't need to save one voice for every single track. You could use 2 tracks and just go nuts on your synthesizer. This is an awesome synthesizer. I mean, it's my favorite synth that I own. It's just hands down. And it just keeps becoming more my favorite the longer that I use it for. But we could turn on our unison, and it gets nasty, and we can start spreading it, but it's using more voices, so we lose voices across other tracks. And that sounds pretty cool. Do you hear that? Listen to this for a second. It kind of sounds like a phaser. There's like this weird spot where it sounds like a phaser. That is really cool. It's almost worth keeping this patch just for that. Oh, we got this fuzzies. Patch sounds crazy so far. Let's hear how it sounds with this unison turned off for a sec. That seems like a pretty sweet spot for us right there. Now I'm going to go over to my filter, or actually I'm going to go to my effects page, and we're going to change from pre-filter overdrive to post-filter overdrive. We're going to bring this back just a little bit, or actually we'll do the trick here. We'll go to, oops, we're going to actually bring an EQ in, make a sharp notch. This is something, been seeing this in so many tutorials on making patches like this. And so we're gonna actually take this sharp notch, and we're gonna have it go up and shoot up every single time I hit a note. So I'm gonna go to the filters frequency. We're gonna set this to trig, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put, we could probably use a saw for this. we could actually use another LFO to also kind of just modulate it. Could go audio rate. And then what's always fun once you get to a place where you're like, I like this dirty patch. Oh, let's also turn on Portamento here. And now that we have the filter overdrive, we can get post-filter overdrive. There we go. And now we're kind of like at the end result. This filter is being modulated every time we hit it. It's ramping up. Scooting across the top frequency zone, scanning through the top frequencies. Let me turn this up for you. Of course, you could add chorus. I don't really want to, but we could. Although it does sound pretty good with it. Let's check out the unison again. Actually kind of like it without it, but we're going to be making some patches with unison. And with our last modulator, we could, I think we want to do the harmonics. And I want to use this ramp up, and I actually want to set this mode to half. I wanted it to just use the first part of the wave. That's why I set it to half. Half will just use half of your phase. But it doesn't re-trigger itself, so it's not as cool. Maybe we'll just use trig. Cool. I think we have our first patch. We're like kind of high up on the keyboard, so I'm actually going to bring this down 2 octaves here so that when the patch gets loaded, that it just plays at a bass note, so I don't have to go down and find the bass. So now we save it. I don't think I'm missing anything. I think we have our first patch done. And so now we go save and hit yes. And we will call this reese 6 easy, because it was easy. Nice, expressive, save. Cool. Good idea to always save. Just keep saving patches. You make a sound you like, save it. Cool. Let's check something else out too. So once you're already in the zone, right? We've set this up in a way, like we've done some things. Some of these techniques we've done, we can apply to multiple patches. Like this notch filter over here with our modulators that we have to it. I have an audio rate modulator going to the frequency on my filter, which is moving this position around at 2,000 times the BPM, so super fast. And then this one here is like cycling this ramp that's taking it up across the high end over and over again, just scooping through it. Kind of gives it a little bit of a phaser feel. And that's a technique that gets used a lot in these particular bassy patches. Often done rhythmically, synced to the tempo, or set up in a way that each time you hit a note, you get a different rhythm based on what note that you hit, which is something that we're gonna tinker with. We'll do it on our next patch. But what I wanted to mention is once you have a sound that you like and you're like, this is pretty cool, what's great is the algorithm change is very powerful on the Digitone. So you can quickly go to another patch in similar territory with a different feedback routing. It's going to give you a whole nother harmonic spectrum to play with just by adjusting your algorithm. Right? Oh man, Algorithm 3 kicks ass. This is the Algorithm 4 is my nasty patch. We're gonna do Algorithm 4 next. Pretty sick. Eight is the biggest disappointment. Okay, cool. So you can see already, like, doesn't matter what algorithm you play with. It truly doesn't matter on the Digitone what algorithm you play with. I doubt anyone's memorizing the algorithms. I know there are certain algorithms that make more distorted sounds faster for me. I like Algorithm 4 for that, which we're gonna do next. Or we'll do during this. Sorry, we're not going to do it next. We're going to move to a different engine next because we've already accomplished one of our sounds. And we're going to start over and do it again, moving down the list of synth engines. But I wanted to say, it doesn't matter what algorithm you choose. Choose any algorithm. What matters is that you go in and you bring the level up, your feedback, so that you actually have some modulation in your engines. Otherwise, you're not going to get all the harmonics generated. It's just going to continue to be either sine waves, or it lets you do some very mild modulation from this page before you do that. So it's about exploration. That's the thing about the Digitone. So this is, actually, let me just harp on this for 1 second. One of the reasons why I love the Digitone II, of all synthesizers that I own, and I own other FM synthesizers, robustly powerful, awesome FM synthesizers that are really fun to play with and make similar sounds. But one of the things I really love about the Digitone and the way it was designed is that it's designed in a way with some rails on it that kind of just keep you in a semi-sweet spot. You can go out of your sweet spot, there's no doubt, but it keeps you in a sweet spot, so it's easy for you to make new sounds. The rest of FM synthesis should be an exploration. If you're using FM8 for your FM synth and that's like what you're used to, or even FM4 in Ableton or something, or FM Engine from Bitwig, they're not fun, I wouldn't say. They're not like adventurous. You don't go into them and you're like, oh, this is gonna be such a great time, I'm gonna go do FM synthesis. You're kind of like, if you've never used the engine before, it's confusing and difficult, to be honest, and you don't really know what's going on, especially as an early music producer or early synthesist. The Digitone, you don't have to think in that fashion. The Digitone, turn knobs, press the keyboard and turn knobs. That is what you get to do. That is why it's so fun. Press the keyboard and turn knobs is what it's all about for me. So I just go in here and start tweaking. Eventually you start picking up little tips and tricks of some ideas of, oh, I should do this first, or maybe I should turn this setting on first. This is gonna help me, but those only take you a moment. The rest of it is just literally going from page to page, pressing stuff, parameter locking in the sequencer. It's just a good time. And I can't say that about every synthesizer I own. Some of them sound superb, even superior, I would say, but the experience is different than playing on a Digitone. That's why this is my favorite synth I own. All right, so we got track 1 done. Nasty. Let's go to track 2 and start over. So over here, we're gonna use FM drum. I love FM drum, and one of the cool things you can do to make some of these nasty patches is to add a bit of sweep. So you get that wow. It's kind of like the portamento experience. You can also pair it with the portamento. But when you have, you know, a bunch of harmonics beating against each other and you have that sweeping sound, it sounds crazy. What's really cool about the FM drum engine, we're gonna skip this section. We don't need a transient, so we don't need any of this. This noise section down here, we can use, and it actually can be useful if we want to add some of this noise. Listen to that, like these little grains. In fact, what's cool is that you can just have the noise and then switch to a notch and do some like audio rate. I didn't mean to explore this, but it just caught my attention because I forgot how freaking cool it is. Post filter overdrive. Bitrate doesn't really do much in this situation. I just think it's cool. You can do some really weird stuff with just the noise section and playing with your filter. Let's clear it out. Okay. Turn this noise back off. Okay. We're going back up here. Another thing, this engine's really fun because this engine is extremely immediate. Like it's a phenomenal drum engine. Honestly, surprisingly fantastic drum engine. And because they add the little PCM samples for making drums, it's totally killer. We're not gonna make drums today, I don't think. But using this engine to make synth stuff is also really dope. It's actually a less confusing version of the FM engine. They're all FM engines, right? They're all using the same engine. But the other engine looks like a spaceship. Like you could take this screen out and put it somewhere in a Star Wars movie and you'd be like, ah, I guess that fits. You know, that probably flies the X-Wing, you know. But here, it's a little bit less confusing. It looks a little bit more like synthesis, like more basic version of it. It's just kind of like, just the shapes. Even if you don't read this and just look at what's on the screen, it's a little bit more obvious what's going on. And we go straight into, you know, like getting nasty sounds. Like we didn't have to go in and set some stuff up. It just makes the sounds. It just starts doing the thing. The other engine, not so much. You do have to understand the other engine a lot further than this one. This one's on rails to a much higher degree. But of course, it doesn't. It doesn't really start getting nasty until you go to page 2. Just like the other engine, you do need to use the mod and turn up that modulation so that you actually get those harmonics. But like I was showing you, we don't have to. It'll get nasty without it. There's something we'd want to modulate, right? So here the sweep. The sweep is making it really distorted at the very beginning. So without sweep, so it adds that crunch. That's what the sweep is doing in this particular scenario. But usually you would use it to make a kick. Not us. So let's check out unison here. That's insane, we only need to use 2. Sounds pretty dope with unison. I do prefer it off. Maybe we will use a little bit of chorus. We are, again, doing post filter for our overdrive, and we are just overdriving. If you don't do post filter overdrive, this is what it sounds like. I don't know if you can tell the difference. I can. There's a lot of like mid highs that kind of just vanish. Still sounds good, but this adds like little gritty, like the really dirty stuff at the top. Sounds great. Okay, once again, we are gonna go and change this to mono. Let's get back to our engine. We could do it like a low pass filter version. Which sounds really nice with that post filter. Overdrive. Okay, I want that sound to repeat. So let's go and set that up. That is operator AB. So let's go to modulator, find operator AB, wave. Right? AB wave. Set it to trig. Set our speed to like 16. So it's a little a rhythm that is more natural. See what happens when it goes faster. Let's check it out with the saw. Totally disgusting. And we're not even using the envelope. We're literally just passing the sound right through the filter. The overdrive is doing the work for us. But we could assign like this same operator. We could assign it to our filter as well if we wanted. Let's see. We just hold this, hit copy, go here, hold this. So we're holding the LFO page or mod page, and hitting paste, and now we just select a new destination. What's nice about doing this method where you take a modulation that you already like the rhythm of it and just copying and pasting it, is it's literally just selecting a new destination, and you're going to get a nice timbre change that fits the rest of your rhythmic modulation. So let's bring it to the filter. I think that was my idea. So I do that a lot. This is a really good one. Like, this is a very, very nasty patch. Is there something? Oh, let's go here. There's some release. I was like, what's going on? I am again gonna just use the AHD envelope here. Sick. Let's get some portamento on it. Oh, not retrig. Cool. That is really cool with that rhythm right there, which you would adjust with your LFO. Like if you want that rhythm to change. I believe it is this one that we did. Awesome. I mean, that is really nasty. Sheesh. Only a little bit of chorus on that too. It is huge. Pure filth. Sick. Cool. Yeah, didn't even have to do much to this one. What does it sound with this? Some noise on it. Noise actually sounds pretty good. Maybe we'll just leave a little bit of noise going. All right, let's save our patch. So we go to our next section. I think we can actually copy and then paste it. And then save it here, and we will replace it. Oh, maybe I don't want to do it that way. That's probably a bad idea. Let's just save it like this. We'll call it reese 7. And then our next one, we're actually going to do a similar sound, except we're also going to use key tracking to modulate a bit of its rhythm. So each note is going to produce a different rhythm. Patch 1, patch 2. Sound awesome. All right. Patch 3. That's the intro music for patch 3. Let's go to Wavetone. What's cool about Wavetone is it's just a basic synthesizer. It's really much easier to understand if you're just familiar with subtractive synthesis. Wavetone's got you covered. It's pretty simple. But it also added stuff that didn't exist to the Digitone II when it first came out, and to the Digitone I, which is stuff like hard sync, which is what we're going to use today. What's really nice, if you hold function, all the encoders have these quantized values that they'll jump to. When you hold function, turn off an encoder, it's going to do something based on what window you're looking at. Right now, we're looking at synth page 1 window of the Wavetone engine. So if I hold function, I turn this on the waveforms, I'm actually going to snap to our primary waveforms, just your basic waveforms. But you can interpolate in between those waveforms like this, and you can actually go on page 2 and turn on harmonic wavetables, and this will give you these much more, well, weirder wave shapes. I wouldn't say that they're better by any means. I think the sounds are usually a lot thinner for these. They remind me a bit more of the model cycles, so I actually tend to avoid them compared to just using the primary wavetable. Here, it's in page 2 where we're going to have the most fun. I'm going to go to a sawtooth, and maybe we'll use a square, because maybe we'll modulate the pulse width, which sounds awesome on square. We're going to go here, and we're going to turn the mod section. We have a ring mod, we have ring mod fixed, and we have hard sync. Hard sync is what we're going to use today. When you're using hard sync, the top oscillator becomes the hard sync modulator, I guess is a good way to put it. So our primary tone is actually page or synth 2. And what we want is to go to our modulator, and I actually want to modulate oscillator 1's pitch, and in a very strong way, because it's not going to make it sound out of tune, it's going to add character to the sound. Set it on trig, that means it'll re-trigger the phase of our LFO every single time I hit a note. It's going pretty slow. We could do a sawtooth here too. It kind of sounds better with the square though. Already in kind of a cool spot. Let's also go back to mono. Much quieter patch compared to... But we'll get there. So it's a bit quiet because we haven't done our distortion. Again, we're going to do post filter overdrive, and this is one of the tricks here, is that you just always lots of overdrive. And then let's do our, not the comb filter. Let's do the equalizer patch again, where we use the notch, the really sharp notch. And we are once again going to modulate that. And we're going to go filter frequency. Actually, we'll use the... Just added that. Pretty cool. We could also turn key tracking on if we want here. We don't really want that for this. That's actually really cool. Not exactly what I intended to do, but... sounds pretty sick. Okay. Bring this down. Sounds pretty good. Yeah. Nice sounding patch. Okay. We do have like noise and stuff that we can add to this as well. Which you can like, we could isolate. And maybe this patch. We got one more modulator. I'm gonna detune. I'm gonna add vibrato with this last modulator, I think. So I want master tune. Yeah. Sounds really cool as a lead. Let's make this reverb. Oh, it already is. Pretty nasty sounding lead, I like it. Nice. So this one with like some sidechain on it, some drum and bass. Great, like underneath, soft, but destructive sounding, but gentle. That is that, you know, don't hit me too hard kind of patch. Let's save it. Another one of these Reese guys. All right. What was it, 8? Cool. Got some nice flavors. I think this one would actually might even shine the most as a lead, but could sound really good polyphonically, which is cool to just check out sometimes. Well, let's do mono LFO. That's a pretty cool poly patch too. I dig it. I dig it. We'll stick with mono though. All right. I think we already saved it, but let's resave it because I like it with the portamento. Cool. All right, let's do another one. Swarmer. So this was Swarmer makes kind of like a similar patch. And we're going to go back and do more on these engines too, but we're just going through these 4 really quick. The Swarmer one is really already kind of set up to make these sounds. That's kind of just what this engine does. again, post filter overdrive. Like, go to setup, set this to mono again. So check this out. This is audio rate modulation on the octave selector. This is something you would do in your modular synth. This is cool stuff. So like, this is typically something you don't really get to modulate at audio rate unless you're doing something in modular. I mean, a lot of new synthesizers let you just modulate everything, but like often it won't let you just modulate what the sub octave is. Listen to how incredibly huge this is with that modulator. Here's it turned off. It's like almost like, it's like playing a chord. This sound is amazing. Oh, dude, you can make a whole track around this. Check it out with unison. Oh my god, this sounds really good with unison. Damn. We don't want that envelope at all. Maybe what I want is to switch to the EQ again, but not do a notch, do the inverse action. And let's modulate that. So we'll target the filter EQ. Let's try audio rate real quick. BPM times 2000, so audio rate. Nice. That's cool. The effect isn't like very dramatic, but it is cool. So that's some vibrato. It's kind of a Hoover bass. I do like this patch. This one's a little quieter than the rest. This one's nasty. I really like it a lot. I'm like, want to make a song with that. So the big trick here, like what really made this patch stand out was us doing audio rate modulation to our octave. I'd added a lot of harmonics. This patch we are using unison and using spread, so we're using 2 of our voices on our Digitone. This is one to keep. This is a cool patch. Again, I'll have all these uploaded on my Patreon after the stream if you want to pick them up. Save this sucker. I don't even know what to call it. It's not a reese. Sheesh. It makes me think of like 9 Inch Nails. It makes me think of Korn. It makes me think of Deftones. Deftones, really. Yeah. We'll call it Def Bass. Bass. Easy. Cool. Whoa, what are these suckers? Get out of here. I don't want you. Bass. Expressive. Again, I think that makes sense. Save it. Is there other ones checked off? Soft? What was that doing there? Ain't soft, sucker. That ain't soft. Jeez. What if we had a portamento? Actually, I like it without portamento, to be honest. Most of them have had portamentos so far. This one I don't need. Cool. So we've now made a nasty, huge bass sound with all 4 of these engines. Now let's go back and do it again. This is what you do, like to get familiar with these engines. But honestly, there's a couple patches I really want to explore with you that involve using key tracking and modulating things with key tracking. Not just using the macro, which we can do, but actually using the key tracking to change rhythms that are in time with your music. This is going to take a little bit longer to set up because it's in my head. I've done it. It's in my head. It's one of these patches I have it saved where it's done that way, but I'm gonna have to rethink about it because, you know, these are little soft thought puzzles. Soft thought puzzles. That's really cool. I want to make a song with that patch. All right, let's go back here. Just for fun, let's do FM tone again. We're gonna use algorithm 4. This is my favorite destructive algorithm. And just want to add a little bit of beating. Who wants a beating? Whoa. I love FM. Well, you know what I think of when I think of FM? Instead of thinking of, this is kind of like when I try to explain FM to people that are like, teach me FM. I'm like, the best way I can explain FM synthesis is just think of it as a complex oscillator. If you're not familiar with a complex oscillator, if you ventured into Eurorack, you're definitely familiar with complex oscillators. DAW, digital audio workstation music production. I don't know if that language gets used very often in DAW stuff. In groove boxes, it never gets used. In modular, it's used all the time. You can buy complex oscillators. It's a whole genre of complex oscillators. They often offer lots of different waveform outputs and multiples of outputs or summed outputs or outputs that can modulate other outputs, or they're through 0 FM or something like that. It's often included in complex oscillators. So when I think of FM synthesis, I think of FM synthesis as a complex oscillator. So instead of it thinking about FM and I'm thinking about DX7 and electric pianos and whatever, those sounds, I just think of this as a way for me to get to extremely complex waveforms, because that's what a complex oscillator does. It generates complex waveforms. You could have a complex oscillator that it was the simplest oscillator on the planet. You literally just turn the knob and it just generates, changes waveforms to more distorted and wackier shaped waveforms, which is going to, the more grooves in your wave shape, the more harmonics it will generate. The softer, like a sine wave, which is just an extrapolated circle, gives you the fundamental, just gives you a single tone. And then the more groove or straight lines, or jagged lines, what I mean to say, you add to it, the more harmonics it generates. And that's just kind of obvious when you look at it through an oscilloscope. The Digitone is just an FM synth to me. It's a polyphonic, that's exactly what it is. The Digitone is just a complex oscillator synth to me. A polyphonic complex oscillator synth. To me, it can make a lot of the same sounds as a wavetable synthesizer because it's doing the same thing. Wavetables just let you scan through those complex wave shapes as opposed to, and load them and get them from different various sound sources and whatnot. Very cool. Wavetables are different, but in the end, we're getting a complex wave shape. That's what I mean to get at. Not the most important thing to share with you, but I do share it often to explain what's happening here. We're just getting more complex wave shapes. So we're already in nasty territory. Let's go back to our setup. Go back to mono. I love algorithm 4 because it's just all X. Like that's just ghost sounds. Ah. That's nice. Oh yeah. Ugh. Filth. Ugh. Good lord. Post filter overdrive. Let's do it. Okay. That's what I want to modulate. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a sweet spot right there. We want A-B feedback. Or A level. And I want to trig. I want to ramp it. Okay, we want this to go faster with different notes that we hit. Rant, rant, rant. But I want it to go rant, 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 rant. So we'll see what we can do to get there. Also, I'm gonna try going back and inverting the speed. I kind of liked the speed that it was at. Inverting the speed will invert the shape. Inverting the depth would have done the same thing. tech. I can hear a little pop there. That's a dope sound. Let me hear something really quick. Pretty nasty. Nothing is as nasty without the filter. We'll get back to the filter. Right now I want to play with this rhythm. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into key tracking. And what I want to do for my modulator with the key tracking is I actually want to target my... Well, first I got to look at this, actually. Hang on. It's LFO1. We're going to target the BPM of LFO1. Because that's causing the that distorted sound. So that's what we're going to target. So we're going to go back here. Back to our key tracking. So let's do that. Take me to mod 1. Mod 1. We could try speed. We're going to do multiplier first. Speed and multiplier, they are, similar things. They're both adjusting the speed in different ways. Multiplier is just doing multiplications of the speed, where speed is this like more relative offset. But we're going to try both. So I'm just going to do a value of 1 first. Key tracking is already pre-assigned, so. Okay, we've already gotten a taste of it, so. This brought the multiplier down, so it's slower. Let's go up. You hear that we're getting a different speed based on what note we're playing. So that's using the multiplier. Let's see if we give it a little bit more juice, like maybe a value of 2. Not perfect. I think we need to dial in this BPM maybe first. And then go back and give it more modulation. Maybe a value of 8 now. Is too much. Put that in half. It's actually a negative value for the key tracking, apparently. Okay, let's try doing it with the speed now. But we have to be very particular about the values that we put in. And I think I need to speed this up to begin with. Of course, it's going faster, going now negative, because of how I have this set up. Maybe we, yeah, let's try going up. 32. Maybe we use a negative modulation because of how we were doing our modulation to begin with, because we were using the LFO at a negative speed anyway. We did it, hell yeah. Cool. My goal was to make it speed up and slow down based on what note you hit and still have it be in time. And we did that. So now we can actually add more to that, right? We could go really crazy with key tracking. Like this is pretty fun stuff, but like you have to be in the mood to sit down and do weird stuff like this. Like we're bouncing back and forth through menus. I'm in the mood. Come on now. Get ready. We should have it do something more drastic, like change the algorithm. Yeah. That's a little silly. Honestly, I think I'd rather just use a little chorus. That sounds cool. Whoops. Oh, cool. How many? Oh, we got 2 more LFOs. Copy, paste. Give me that filter cutoff. That sounds really nasty in the low. Now let's have the key tracking also adjust the speed of this one so that they match. And then maybe we'll save the patch. Because that sounds really cool. Mod 1 speed, -32. We want to go mod 2 speed, -32. Mod 2 speed, -32. Let's do it to it. Whoops. And go -32. Hey. Thank you. That is a good patch. All right, let's revisit our patches really quick. Super nasty. Kind of just a classic. Oh, and then there's our Hoover insane shit here. Total ear candy, and then man, that is a good sound. This synth is just awesome. Really does that post-filter overdrive. Such a game change. Like, it completely changes the character of the Digitone. It is, I would say it's not slept on or anything like that. I don't really know. But what I would say is that it is awesome and you should do it all the time. I always want post-filter overdrive. It should be the default setting, to be honest. Overdrive should always be post-filter. Who doesn't want to do it post-filter? I always want to. I think that sounds great. Maybe the speed should be faster on the lower notes. So that takes a really long time. Let's see. We go negative. I guess we could keep it at... The other one's at 32, right? Oh no, it's at 24. Let's try going faster here. I liked it at 24. Let's see what 48's like. Maybe too fast. Maybe we go stick with what we already had going on. So it worked. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna save it. I don't know what we're gonna call it. Pulse bass, BPM bass, pulse bass is a nice name for it. Cool. I really wanted to show this particular patch to you today because I wanted to point out that you can use key tracking to adjust the speed. And the reason why this came up, and it was something I was discussing or wanted to share, is I was talking to my buddy who was giving me tips on how to make reese basses. Jordo, I think he's in the chat here. Great music producer. Check out his music, Femto, that's what he goes by. And he was talking about how you would resample this into your Digitact, and then each time you played a note, it would play it back at a different speed because it, it's playing back the sample. It has to make the sample play faster in order to play it at a higher pitch. And I was like, well, I can kind of because that way you would get that rhythm, wop 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 wop, that whole drum and bass, whatever vibe. But you can get that with key tracking, and I showed you how. Of course, I think you could dial it in better than I maybe did. In terms of the actual speed at which it's reacting and maybe which direction you have the ramp going and all that kind of stuff. That's for you to tweak. But the tool on how to do it, the technique, is there. So it's easy. Use key tracking, target the speed or the multiplier. Speed, I think, works best, of your LFO that is creating the rhythmic ramp. And there you go. And then you don't have to resample it. You can just do it right on your Digitone, which I think is dope. Let me say what's up to the chat while I'm chilling. And so I'll pop back over here. See how everybody's doing. Love my Digitone too. I hope you do as well. Carlton, this is crazy. I've been spending the last week just making sounds on the DT2 with LFOs and the mod wheel. Yeah, the DT2 is awesome for that. Second time today, you heard reese bass. That's right. We heard that one. I don't know if EZBOT answered yet, but generally a dirty detuned bass that's got a bit of the wobble to it. Yep. Totes. Cry that your Digitone 2 is gone. Yeah, you can definitely do it on the Toneverk. Yes, you can. Yes, the Toneverk is on the desk. It's just not being used right now. The Toneverk is a conversation, but the Toneverk is not replacing one of my main units on my desk. My Digitact 2 and my Digitone 2 and my Octatrack, they are a thing. They play together. They do this thing. They're perfect together. I play shows. I have a great time. Octatrack does all the stuff it needs to do. My Digitone does what it needs to do. Digitact is perfect. Digitact is my favorite sampler of all time. And the Octatrack is my other favorite sampler of all time. That's also a performance box. The Digitone is my favorite synth that I own. So I don't need more. I love the Toneverk, and it does more stuff, and I'm happy that the update rolled out, and it's much better. And I was beta testing the update, and so I was already kind of enjoying the perk of it working, and got used to that experience for a last couple of weeks. So I've kind of gotten used to it functioning normally in my setup, and I love how it sounds. It's the best sounding sampler I own. There's no doubt. Makes great sounds. However, it's still a different box. It doesn't function the same way as the Digitact 2 or Digitone 2 does. It doesn't mimic them. It doesn't have pattern mutes. It doesn't have the quality of life features the Digitone 2 has. So, that being said, it's an exploration box. To me, it kind of replaces a little modular skiff and does a lot of cool stuff. But in terms of me just like writing my tunes and what's snappy and fast, I'm sticking with the boxes that I got on the table. What's the difference from setting to mono versus the voices menu? It's a big difference. If you set it to, I think someone probably answered this question, but it is a good question. It should be answered if no one did. If you use it in the poly mode, it'll play polyphonically, so you can hit multiple notes. So if you have a note overlapping you're going to get 2 notes. And that's going to create a completely different sound, especially with these really dirty, gritty sounds. You don't really want them to be polyphonic. They just sound bad. It just sounds like muddy grossness, which maybe that's your thing. I don't know. A lot of noise artists in here. But not me. I like a dirty sound, but I like to control. I like to have control over my dirty sounds so that I can, you know, shape them and use them with time. I want to turn sounds on and off so that they impact. But anyway, that to answer your, you know, you want to use mono with these sounds if you're making basses, and you want to use poly if you want to make chords, and thin the sounds out a bit if you're going to do chords. I'd say don't make them so beefy. I answered the Toneverk rotation question. Hey man, great videos. I just bought Digitone II a couple days. Just wondering if Digitech II as useful for creating weird sounds, or should I go for Syntacct Analog 4? Syntacct or Analog 4? Well, I wouldn't say Syntacct is useful for... I mean, the Syntacct dual VCO engine... The Syntacct and the Analog 4 have a lot in common. So either one of those is going to make pretty similar sounds. I would say the Digitech 2 is going to make much more experimental sounds than your Digitech 1. I'm sorry, than a Syntacct or the Analog 4. Like, you can get into the weird zone, repitching voices, all sorts of weird stuff. So experimental stuff, I'd say a sampler is going to win for experimental. When it comes to like sound designing, like a complex wave shape, Syntacct or Analog 4. But even more so, I'd probably say the Analog 4. For sampling, I was thinking more like Poly and Tracker Plus, but I instantly fell in love with the Digitone because it's so easy to make amazing weird sounds. I agree. Naturally, I started eyeing the Digitect. Yes. All right, I'm going down to see if there's any questions. Clean up on aisle 3. What type of music would you use it for? This particular type of music? I would say you would use this for drum and bass pretty commonly, but you could use it for all sorts of dirty, trappy type tunes as well. We can use it for anything. Throw it at 100 BPM, throw a nice kick snare on the beat, and you can go ham. There's no doubt. Hey, thanks for the tip. Lorem Ipsum, love your stuff, man. If you ever heard of Nostalgic Ruckus or Lorne. I know Lorne, I don't know Nostalgic Ruckus. Maybe a tribute to Ruckus as he's gone AFK. Might be rip. Ooh, that sucks. Well, I hope they're not. And hope everything's alright for them. Dope with the noise cuts. Can you show how you would design an ambient singing bowl tone? Not today. That's not on the menu. We're on the dirt menu today. Different restaurant for that. These are the sounds you get dirty before the sound bath. Yeah, exactly. It's distortion coming before or after filter. Post filter tactical MIDI. Oh, hey, it's my favorite synth. Absolutely. You wish Elektron would just put rechargeable batteries? Yeah. I have rechargeable batteries in some of my Elektron boxes, which is cool. What would you say to someone considering the Waldorf M versus the DN2? Ooh. That's a tough one, Realist Wizard. Realist Wizard, I remember you. Because you ask good questions. I remember that about you. That you had good questions. Even though you're redacting your questions, whatever's going on here. What is this, the Epstein files? Give it back, buddy. I would say probably the Waldorf M is going to beat the Digitone in terms of synthesis in general, but you're not going to get the sequencer from Elektron. So to me, the sequencer is going to empower you further than the Waldorf M. But yeah, the Waldorf M it's just a more powerful synth. That's its entire purpose, is just to do that. So that's what I think, at least. I've played on it. It sounds crazy. Okay. It's also double the price. Yes. So I am kind of curious, like, let's bring this tempo up. Let's go like 170 or something. Wiggle, wiggle. And let's futz around and find out real quick. Just something simple. sorts of weird patches in here. The filter clear? What's going on? Didn't I just clear the filter? Why does it want to do that to me? It's nice and punchy. Not really a drum and bass kick, but it's going to do the trick, just for us to test this out. We have a natural sounding snare here. That sounds pretty natural. Okay, we know this sound. Okay. What do I want to do? Hold on. Let's copy this. Clear this out really quick. Oh, go to that note. I hit that all the time. Let's copy it. Get that portamento off on that one. We can leave it back on though, but not on that one. Maybe a bit longer. Do we want to go to like 9? And you go longer. Actually, might have a nice rhythm. We need a different rhythm from that. I do like that, I'm not gonna lie. That is pretty cool. We need much louder drums. Everything feels really quiet over here. Try another patch. Wait a second. What happened to you? That sounds insane. Some of them audio rate is detuned it quite a bit. Let's try this one. Fortunately, we can use these as leads too. This little part where is it? There's this little section on 5. Really like a little too much to the. That's cool. Let's expand this out a little bit. That's sick. Okay. Loop that. Oh, what? So a lot of this like rhythmic stuff that we're getting, all that kind of stuff, we're using the key tracking to modulate the LFO's speeds, and it's, you know, it's working. However, you could be 10,000 times more surgical just by doing it manually, like locking in, going to your note, going to your modulator, and choosing a speed on a per step basis, which is still something you can do. You could use the key tracking to inspire you and then go in and kind of adjust it later here in the LFO section. I do like the whoop whoop whoop. I think it's a nice speed that happens right there, so I don't really want that to change. But maybe this section, maybe we want this to go a different speed. I mean, this is pretty cool. It's pretty fun to play with, I'm not gonna lie. Going some like chiptune out. I don't know if that's the patch for that part, but I really want to use that for something. I feel like a whole song has to be crafted around that sound. It's the only way. Maybe something pretty would be nice on top of the sound. Of course, you can get these beautiful sounds out of the Digitone. Lovely. I wonder if something like where if we just I don't know how I feel about the pretty piano stuff, but wait. Yeah. It was an idea. I wonder if some chords would sound good here, actually. Like, maybe we jump into some of the other... Actually, I really like this one, and I think if I turned it into chord engine, so back to polymono LFO. Maybe not. That sounds... That's actually pretty nice, honestly. Sounds really good. This was originally a reese bass, which very quickly we turned into this like phasey sounding chord. What am I doing? Yeah. Cool. Righteous. Well, we made some good patches today. We explored for quite a bit. We figured out how to use the key tracking to modulate the speed of our LFO. We're at the 2-hour mark, which is where I call it, because any longer than that, and it's just too long, and no one's gonna watch. It's just too long of a video. I'm gonna have these patches plus the other patches that I had on here available to download on my Patreon. If you're interested in grabbing these and making some weird stuff, I'd love to hear what you do. So check it out if you'd like. If you want to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT as well. You can also visit coffee.com if you want to pick up the performance templates. You heard some weird stuff I was doing with the Octatrack. That's something you can do. You can grab and put into your Octatrack. I made a ton of performance templates with all these different effects and stuff for live performance, different workflow environments, resampling, DJ stuff, anything you can think of. I've pretty much explored into these templates on the Octatrack. And so you can find that on Coffee or on Patreon. Otherwise, to support this channel, what's really great is just coming back next time, leaving a comment if you'd like. Let me know what you want to talk about. Someone said they wanted to do a patch on a singing bowl. Stuff like that, comments like that, that's the kind of stuff that is good feedback for me because it gives me ideas to work on. Otherwise, thank you for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the filth that we could get out of the Digitone II. We could keep going for a lot longer to get into a lot swarmier and darker spaces. It takes a while to make patches that you like, and so we got about 5 of these completed before we jumped over and started to try and put some application to one of them. I wanted to see how it would sound in context with drum and bass, actually changing the note, which changed the speed of the modulation. And it worked. Again, something I would need to finesse a little bit further into a little later on into my progress of the day. And I'll probably get back to this because I'm having fun with it right now. And so I kind of want to go nuts. But yeah, so thank you everybody for hanging out. My name is Matthew, aka EZBOT. I do this every Tuesday. Today we did it on Wednesday. Yesterday I had an appointment, so I couldn't do it. But I do this every Tuesday around 12 o'clock for about 2 hours. And then sometimes I cut these down into shorter videos that you can digest where we just make patches. And so I have this recorded, and hopefully I can chop this down into a short video for you to make these 5 nasty patches on the Digitone II. So thanks again for hanging out. I'll see everybody next Tuesday for another live stream. We'll see what's going on. I have a bunch of new stuff on the table, so there's some stuff for us to explore. So look forward to some surprises.